Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk Sports Show on Calon 105 FM with Jamie Davis, and alongside me this week will be Joe Stanley, Adam Davis, Conor Porter, Jack Price who's right behind me, hello there. And of course for the next hour, as we always do, we're going to be discussing the latest from the world of sport, including Saturday's Champions League final where Karius bottled it, you could say. We'll be talking more about that after some music. We've got some F1 as well, and if we can fit in any more sports in until 9 o'clock, we are for once live on Calon 105 FM. Anyway, we'll be right back after the Chainsmokers. So, welcome back to the Let's Talk Sports Show, and I hope you all are enjoying your bank holiday weekend. For some of you Liverpool fans, I know it's been a bank holiday weekend to forget, but because sadly, Liverpool, of course, lost the Champions League final and missed out on that 6th European Cup after Real Madrid won 3-1, thanks to the local Welshman of Gareth Bale, but many thanks to Karius, the Liverpool goalkeeper. He really was the laughingstock of the weekend. He's my new favourite comedy, and I hope you've got the drum rolls going because Jack Price, it was quite a hilarious game if you're not a Liverpool fan.
Oh, it was lovely, wasn't it? No, I mean, if you're a Liverpool fan, to be fair, if you're a Liverpool fan, I don't want to say you should know this was coming because obviously you know it's very drastic, but. I think we could all say for some time, all of us would say that they need another goalkeeper and they need another number one goalkeeper. So, I think we said for some time that Klopp needed to change it, and has it come back to bite him? Possibly, but I don't know. I just can't. I'm not sure I can defend either of them. It's some of them things that you can sometimes say, there was a change in direction of the ball when he kicked it, or something like that. I honestly can't say for either of them that there's any defence for them. I mean, the first one's just, I don't know what he's doing. Just wait for Benzema to go away. I don't understand why he just throws it quickly. I mean, was there anybody even to throw it to?
No.
So, just take your time, keep the ball. That's what Liverpool needs to do through the game, really, is not let Real Madrid have the ball. So, why he's throwing it out quickly, I don't know. And what a strange thing that was. I mean, the Gareth Bale first goal was an absolute stunner, so you have to just stand up and applaud that. And then the third one, I don't know, we were trying to debate, is he trying to punch that or is he just trying to push it in his own net? That's what it looks like in the end. I mean,
I think he was playing volleyball from his previous career then.
I honestly don't know what he's doing. And a lot of people said he was brave to go to the Liverpool fans. I think he needed to do that. I think he needed it. Some people would just go straight into the tunnel and that would be it. But I think the way that he played, he needed to go over and apologise. And a lot of Liverpool fans, took it well. The ones in the stadium took it well. I mean, we have heard that there's a possible death threats for some of them, but that's just petty. So. That he's just got to hopefully move on, whether he's there next season as a first team goalkeeper or second or whatever. Who knows?
If you're Jurgen Klopp, he probably will be the first team goalkeeper.
Yeah, it's a 5-year deal, signed it already. But I don't know. I don't know if any else one has a say, but I don't think you can defend it.
Joe, I said to you last week when we did one of our videos, I said that the goalkeeping would be a problem. And it's happened.
Let me get the tissues ready.
Yeah, he's got the tissues ready, and he's had many tears coming out of his eyes this weekend. But it was a very long weekend for you. I mean, Saturday night, could you believe it? The fact that a goalkeeper lost the European Cup from those two mistakes.
I just couldn't believe it. I was there.
He was at Anfield as well, wasn't he?
I was there at Anfield watching it on the big screens, and I just stood there staring into space going, what the expletive is he just done with the first one?
What the fudge?
And the fudge. And then the second one, I just couldn't believe it even more. I just stood there staring into space thinking, we've lost this final because we've got a stupid goalkeeper. A goalkeeper that can't catch a football, which is the basic thing that a goalkeeper has to do.
I'll tell you what, look at our England cricket team. They can't catch you.
On a human level, I feel sorry for him because mistakes happen and he's happened on the big stage. But as a professional footballer who's paid millions of pounds, he's a goalkeeper. He should be able to do those things regardless of the game, whether it's against a League Two side or in the Champions League final, the biggest club football match ever. It's one of those. I've wanted to give him a chance as a Liverpool goalkeeper. To be honest, he was brought in for £4 million, which isn't much money if you think about it. Wanted to give him a chance because we've had Mignolet for years and Mignolet's a bit hit and miss. But then, obviously, it's going to prove that we needed another goalkeeper. I thought maybe we could last this season with it, but then obviously it's all come and blown up in our faces. So.
I just find the money and pay him $4 million to get rid of him.
Yeah.
I just wish we'd given Danny Ward a chance because he's third choice at Liverpool at the moment.
But it was never going to happen on Saturday, though. Let's be honest.
No, not in the final.
Yeah,
but this season, I wish we'd given Danny Ward more of a chance.
But maybe this is it. Maybe this is when it's going to happen for him.
Maybe what I do personally, maybe people might say it's a bit harsh and you're not a true Liverpool fan or whatever. What happens? You'll never walk alone. Is a few things that people said. But the thing
Salah certainly walked alone that night.
The thing is, we should bring in Alisson or something, who's our top target reportedly.
No, he's working with the medical team.
Oh yeah, fair point.
and then we should promote Danny Ward or something, because Loris Karius, this is going to affect him mentally. And if it's not going to sort him out, then we're going to have to just get rid of him.
Do you remember back in 2011, 2012 with Fergie, with De Gea and Lingard in that season?
Yeah.
And City came
Lindegaard,
yeah. City came to Old Trafford and they absolutely thrashed United 6-1. Balotelli, why always me, that moment and all that. And, a couple of weeks later, De Gea was dropped, wasn't it, because of poor form, and he came and bounced back from it. A lot of people were, giving a little bit of a comparison to that situation, saying this is a goalkeeper that's still on the up. He's still only 24 years old, remember. Still, in the younger stages of his career, because goalkeepers these days, they can last until the 40 or so. So he's got 16 years ahead of him if he's going to have a good career.
Cech hasn't had a good career till 35.
Yeah, I mean, there's still plenty of time for him. It's not the end of the world for him and all that, but obviously it's going to be it's demotivating, certainly in this situation, especially in the Champions League final, to know that your mistakes ultimately played a big part into the outcome of the game. And looking at how De Gea bounced back from that situation, he propped himself, got himself into proper shape because he was really skinny at that time as well.
So built himself up, definitely.
Yeah. So I'm not saying Karius needs to do the same, because I think he's probably a lot bigger than what De Gea is even now. But he certainly needs to respond to the situation in the correct manner in order to make sure that his career stays on the right path, because otherwise it could derail it completely. Whether or not Liverpool keeps him on next season, I don't think they were even planning to anyway, even before this final. I think they already had their eyes on Alisson, and I think they need to bring in a proper, decent number 2 as well. Someone like Joe Hart could easily be the backup at Liverpool. Someone like Buffon even as well. Players like that could easily walk into that situation and be a backup goalkeeper. If you got Alisson or like Oblak in the goalkeeping situation there, they could easily be a better goalkeeper than either Mignolet or Karius at Liverpool next season.
Adam, how do you feel?
I feel Karius won't go at the end of this season. I think Liverpool might do a Joe Hart and loan him out.
Oh, really? Okay.
Just because, how many years has he got on his contract?
Don't know.
I'm not sure.
Because you don't want to be paying so much if you can just loan him out and get his wages paid for him and just bring in another number 1.
And he's still out the way.
He's still out of the way then. Even if he does bounce back and do a David Gea, you've got that then, haven't you?
I think he's got 2 or 3 years left on his contract.
2 or 3 years. You don't want to be paying off a 2 or 3 year contracts when you can just loan him off.
You do when he lost you the European Cup.
Yeah, but financially, I would.
I just have no sympathy for him. He made 2 mistakes in a final.
Personally,
he gave the ball to Benzema.
When I was watching the game, and I was watching the highlights afterwards, me and my father was thinking, "Blimey heck, there's something dodgy about that." I mean, come on, you're throwing it out to the player.
Are you saying Real Madrid paid him to do it?
I'm saying.
I mean, they could have. They are.
I'm saying he's put a bet on.
I know you're not allowed to swear, but that was the best thing I've ever. Blimey neck, I mean.
Can I just say, it's not the first time Loris Karius has made mistakes.
No.
He did it last season against Bournemouth. It's not Bournemouth's not the Champions League final.
It's him or
but regardless of whether it's against Bournemouth, no disrespect to Bournemouth, but lower league Premier League, or whether it's the Champions League final, you can't make a mistake. It's bad enough making 1 mistake in a major final, but 2.
No.
2.
In all fairness to Joe, I was saying that the other day. If you make 1 mistake, okay, but 2, two's not acceptable.
How many mistakes has he made throughout the Champions League?
I ask him. He's the one who watches them every week.
To be honest, he's not made that many in the Champions League this season, but he's always got that. Like I've said to you a few weeks ago, he's always got that howler in him.
Yeah.
He's got the howler in him. It's just when
He's
it's
a
going to
Claudio
happen.
Bravo.
Is it
of last
a
season,
case
isn't it?
that
Yeah.
he's just not up for the big games then?
Yeah.
But that's a problem.
But
You're playing for
in all
Liverpool
fairness, I
Football Club.
respect Conor because he said, this is where he needs to change it around. And, complete respect. If he does that, fantastic.
Yeah, the problem with Karius is basically it's going to be a mental issue now as to whether or not he can bounce back from this game. But you must remember as well that there was 10 other players on that field as well that didn't really make much of an impact after Salah went off the field. I think that played a huge part into the game. Obviously, we know what
They
Salah
still
can do on the
equalised,
pitch.
though.
Yeah, but there's equalising and then they're scoring 2 or 3 in response to that situation. And actually, giving yourselves, a kick and actually getting back into the game more.
But then Mane hit the post as well, which was unfortunate.
Yeah, but you look at Isco hit the bar.
Isco hit the bar, and
That was before Salah went off.
and Bale was able to come onto the pitch and prove a point. So Bale was actually able to come onto the pitch and prove a point that he should have been starting. Why wasn't there anyone in the Liverpool squad like Lallana, coming off the field? You can say he's got lack of match fitness and whatnot, but that's not really a good sign.
But you
for
look at
England,
look at their substitute bench.
That's what I mean.
Lallana, Solanke. It doesn't bode with.
Well, Solanke's got no experience, has he?
Don't they?
It's something that Liverpool need to address, certainly in this window, that they need to add a little bit more depth.
Yeah.
And, if they add that depth, then eventually they will be able to challenge for, Premier League and, get back into the top finishes in Europe and knockout competitions in England as well. But, if they don't get that, then it's going to be a struggle because at the moment it just looks like it's Salah or bust. And if Salah's not on the pitch, then it is pretty much
downhill for Liverpool.
And I mean, I'm not even having this discussion about this Ramos Salah thing. That's a little rubbish. But obviously, let's talk about the other thing that happened, and that was Gareth Bale. That goal. I mean, it was extraordinary, wasn't it? I mean, Gareth Bale's has had moments at Real Madrid where he has been in the shadows. Let's be honest. Maybe because Ronaldo's there as well. But in all fairness to him, he's not. He's been coming off the bench in the last month. As a substitute, and I remember Steve McManaman was saying in the commentary he's been playing very well actually, but he proved to be the winner there, right there, Jack. And you're a big Wales fan, and seeing Bale do that, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're not in the World Cup, so
I wish they were. I wish they were. They're more entertaining than England.
It's the biggest. It's the biggest stage he's going to have this summer. So to do it at the Champions League final is important. But I think he's very. He's sort of very negative at the minute, Gareth Bale, in the fact that he's played so well. He scored them goals at 4 and 5 or something.
Something like that.
4 and 7.
4 and 7. Yeah, but that's still good. And the fact that he wasn't starting the game, I think ultimately that's already changed his mind to whether he wants to be there or not. And if a good offer comes in, he might do it. And a lot of people are saying, yeah, but why would you leave Real Madrid? You only leave when they want you to leave. And it's like, yeah, but he's won everything. He's won it 4 times. He's literally won everything at that.
Yeah.
So it's not like he hasn't won anything and he's waiting to win something. He's done it. So
if anything, he just needs to do something for Wales now, and he nearly did.
Yeah, or come back and win the Premier League.
Yeah.
Good point. He hasn't won the Premier League yet. Yeah. So if he comes back when he's too old. It's pointless, isn't it? So I think he's got that in his mind now, and I think as soon as he said that, it was interesting because as soon as he said that, everyone was like, "Ooh, everyone's going to be thinking, ooh, can we get him now? Can we get him?" So
Conor, sorry, go on, Adam. What you
Who
going
do
to
you
say?
think would actually have Bale in the Premier League?
Conor Porter, he loves his transfers.
It's either probably going to be, I reckon, United or no one, because I don't really see him going to Chelsea. Like they'll take him.
Yeah, but we'll get him rid of Willian.
It would pretty much be that.
I do like Willian.
I really only see it being United because I don't think Tottenham will be able to afford him at the moment because
they've already pulled out.
They pretty much ruled it out, but they had some clause in the deal when they got sent to Real Madrid that they would have 72 hours to respond to whatever offer that they got and match it if they want.
Well, it's for sure they're not going to Arsenal.
If people are offering, close to 200 million for him, I think it's probably going to go down in price. But if people are offering that, then Tottenham can't match that. United, certainly would put in a huge bid for him in order to close the gap on City. City don't need him because they've already shown this season that they've got youngsters already in that squad that still have potential to grow and become superstars in that system. So why throw in Bale and cause havoc or whatnot? And I think they'll probably want someone more younger than Bale. Probably go for like Neymar if he wanted to leave. See if they can battle against Real Madrid for him. But yeah, I think Bale to United is probably the only way that you could see him coming back to the Premier League.
Or
at the
he
moment.
stays.
Or he stays.
Yeah.
And it's more than likely that they'll work something out for him to get to stay, unless they are able to get Neymar.
I mean, I know this might not mean anything, but I think I read something that after the game, Zidane didn't say anything to him. He didn't say anything about
I think I read somewhere that they didn't speak for 3 hours after the game.
But I mean, they're busy, aren't they? There's the media, there's the celebrations.
And then there's the whole situation with Ronaldo saying to one media outlet that he's fine with Real Madrid, and then to another that he's looking to potentially leave.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's just celebrate the Real Madrid win, and then let's talk about contracts. After the World Cup.
There's another day for that.
Yeah, there's another day for it. I think definitely Bale, in my opinion, will probably stay at Real Madrid this summer. I don't think he'll leave.
I mean, I said this to you in the car. 12 months ago after the Cardiff final, Bale came on and didn't do anything. A lot of people thought then if he doesn't start, he's off. He's still there.
He's certainly proven with his appearances in the big games on the pitch for Real Madrid that he deserves to get that. Get more starts.
And for Wales as well. He's done it for Wales as well in the big games.
So I imagine from next season on, whether or not it's Zidane or whoever's in charge, they'll play him a lot more. Potentially, the one that could go from Real Madrid is probably maybe in Benzema, and they look to bring in another winger to move Ronaldo inside into that kind of striking position. Because, Benzema's not exactly been consistent for Real Madrid over the past couple of years.
Unless Karius is there, he'll set him up.
Benzema struggled to get into the French team, so it's like... Yeah, I think.
But him and France don't get on anyway, do they?
No. But yeah, I imagine maybe potentially they'll push Isco a bit more up front field because he's kind of like winger kind of guy, and then they'll bring Ronaldo inside and put on Bale on the right or whatnot. But Bale, I don't think he'll leave.
I still feel as though that Madrid team's nowhere near Barca, though, is it? When you think about it, I don't know. Anyway, we'll discuss that another day. The season's over now. Club football is over. Joe, any final thoughts from that final? Have you had enough? Get the tissues out.
Bit depressed still, but that's what's depressing.
Oh, come on. It's just a game of football, Joe. Your
Do
mum
not
said to you
say-
the other
don't
day.
say those
They
words.
lost the other week.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't rubbed
Yeah,
it
but
in.
there's a difference between... Yeah, I didn't rub it in, though, because I have respect.
Fair enough. It was a bit of a dull final,
He
but
says
yeah.
that, but if Liverpool would have won, then
Then I
all
would
the
have
respect
done it.
Yeah,
To be
our
fair-
chat would have been filled.
I might,
with.
in all fairness, I might have not made it today if that was the case.
I think I
Sometimes
would've.
I get
I
that
would've been
illness
ill
when
or
something happens due to a
I'm
game.
disappointed, but we've got Clappers on our due. We've been here before. We'll come back and we'll move on. And
Six
you never know.
It's our year.
Next year's in Madrid. The final's in Madrid next year. Wouldn't it be a lovely fairy tale? Liverpool made the final and Salah got the winner in
But
Madrid.
what if Salah was playing for Real Madrid by then?
It's at Atletico though, so it doesn't really make much sense. He's like, yes, I won the final, but it's at the other team's stadium.
but Real Madrid would love to win at Atletico's ground.
Yeah, that would be something.
That would be
Yeah,
something.
And it would be a quadruple in Champions
Yeah.
League. That would be.
I don't think they'll do it next time though.
I
We'll see
hope
in the
they don't.
summer.
I want a bit of mixture, but it's tough to call at the moment who else would replace him. Really.
I think we can at least agree that if they hadn't won that trophy, Zinedine Zidane would have gone.
Yeah, I can't see him really staying, especially after their league form as well. It wasn't really great in that league. The
Very
season.
embarrassing.
Barcelona pretty much ran away with it, only losing I think once or twice throughout the season.
They only lost once.
Yeah, it was
Last
the
game of the season.
second to last game. Wasn't
Second to last. God.
Yeah,
And they lost 3-0, didn't they? Or
it was
something
more
like
than that. It was like 5-4. Yeah,
Oh,
they went
I do
5-1 down. I
believe,
think it was
though,
as well. So
I do believe if City was in the final, I think it'd be a whole different ball game.
well, of course it would because we City in the final.
I think City would have.
yeah, that's if they
defeated
ever
them.
make it. Anyway, thank you very much for your discussion there. We're
One
going to
more
have
Premier League than
it's-
United over the past couple of years. So
we've won more overall. We've won more European Cups as well. We've won everything else more. Anyway, we are going to have a music break, but we might have another Ryan Giggs coming to Manchester United in a few weeks' time. We'll find out over the transfer summer. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Let's Talk Sport on Calon 105 FM. And I've made a mistake here, folks, because we obviously have this show recorded. Joe, I'm going to have to ask you to stop the camera, and Jack to stop my iPhone camera, because we don't need to record this segment because we've already done it for the Pole Position podcast. But for you listeners listening right now on Calon FM, we thought we'd discuss yesterday's Monaco Grand Prix as Daniel Ricciardo got his second victory of the season by holding on really with a car that was low powered throughout most of the race. He stopped Vettel and he stopped Lewis Hamilton as well. What? Jack, I say Hamilton, he had no pace in the car, did he? So he was no problem whatsoever. But it just shows it's about the car. not the driver again. Jack, it wasn't exactly the greatest races of all time, was it, compared to the other ones we've had? But
no.
That's Monaco. It's just hard to overtake.
I'd say to anybody that hasn't watched it yet, just watch the qualifying. Because
It was
it's
a bit
literally most where they finished was where they were.
Or
in
free
qualifying.
practice free when we just saw Verstappen crash. I could watch that again and again.
Not a great deal happened, and a lot of the drivers said that it was boring for them as well, and they would be surprised if anyone was watching at the end of the race. I think the only reason why I stayed to the end was because Daniel Ricciardo was going to win it, and I think a lot of people wanted him to win it because of what happened in 2016, where the pit crew obviously didn't come out for him, and he lost the race because of it. So,
some say they're still looking for those tyres today. So,
yeah,
there's somewhere in
a bit
that
like
garage.
that Sergio Ramos penalty. They're still trying to find that ball. I think overall it was. We've said so far this season, the first 5 races, bar this one, which to make it 6, was that we'd say a lot of them were like 7 out of 10 and higher in terms of what happened. This one I probably put for a 4, I think.
Yeah.
Because like we said, not a lot happened. There didn't really much change for positions either, and obviously there was a bit unpredictable with the fact that would Daniel Ricciardo actually finish the race. Obviously he had issue where he lost 160 horsepower, and they weren't sure whether he'd
And that was
finish it.
early in the race.
Yeah, it was about 29 laps in or something, wasn't it? So they were worried that he maybe would pull out, and Vettel was trying to overtake him, and so there was a little bit like that. But once we realised that he could probably get to the end, everybody else was struggling for tyres behind, and I wouldn't say a great deal happened apart from between the gap of Daniel Ricciardo having that issue and Charles Leclerc having that accident. That was about 10 laps to go or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In that gap, which is about 40 laps, not a lot happened. So,
And then you'd think even after all that racing, we wanted to see Alonso at least get top 10.
Yeah, and then he lost it, didn't he? He had a transmission issue, so he
It could have been in Indianapolis yesterday instead.
and I think he probably wished he was as well. But Jenson Button wouldn't have got in.
Anyway, I've been distracted here, and apparently it's not really big news at all. We'll talk about it later, Joe. Connor, did you watch a bit of the race yesterday?
Yeah, I watched probably the last third of it. So I basically saw Lyric's crash into the barrier after the tunnel, going into the back of what was named the American driver.
Oh, you mean the New Zealander, Hartley? Yeah,
he sounds American. When he was complaining on the radio about the wheel spinning in the pit
lane. He
lane.
did sound very different when he moans, actually.
Yeah, I thought he was American. He sounded like American. But anyway, I saw that. I saw that bit, and you already mentioned about Daniel Ricciardo, the lack of horsepower in his car, and then also about I forget what the yellow car drivers. They're holding up Verstappen behind him because they were looking to.
Oh, Hulkenberg and Sainz.
Hulkenberg and Sainz.
Gasly, yeah.
Basically keeping up that pace in the bottom half of the top 10 to keep Verstappen at bay as much as possible. Despite where he started on the grid, I think Verstappen had a good performance, but obviously he was in a Red Bull, so he was.
You're worried about his future, though, aren't you?
I am worried about his future. I think Verstappen. I think he's been too aggressive so far this season.
He's just signed a 4-year deal.
He signed a 4-year deal, yeah, but I think he's been too aggressive so far this season to actually warrant that deal so early on in his career. I think maybe Red Bull have been a bit too over-eagerness on the potential that he could provide, and I think maybe they're actually potentially throwing money down the drain in the sense of signing him onto the team because
I'll completely deny that because he's a potential world champion.
He is a potential world champion, but if you want someone to actually do well on your team, he needs to be finishing races and finishing them high. And so far this season, he hasn't done it that one. It doesn't matter how old he is. He should be more mature if he's sitting in a £1 million or plus Formula 1 racing car.
They're all in £1 million cars.
Yeah, but Lewis Hamilton and Ricciardo.
Yeah, but Lewis Hamilton when he first started.
Hamilton, when in his first season, made errors that any youngster
But this
would
isn't
make.
his first season, though. This is his third.
No,
isn't
I
it?
know, but
When is he going to grow out of the eagerness of he needs to draw the line between racing and aggression because currently that line is blurred as anything.
No, because Vettel did it a few times last year. He was over eager, and he's a 4-time world
I'll
champion.
say this now about Vettel. Vettel being 4-time world champion is only because of the car he had.
Yeah, but I'm saying in terms of he is a 4-time world champion, and last year he was aggressive. He hit Hamilton in Baku.
Yeah.
So
and then he went and hit him again, didn't he?
Yeah. So I think they tied Verstappen down because they knew that they would lose him if they didn't. And I think a 4-year deal, they haven't got a buyout clause because they don't think they need it. In 4 years' time, he could be at least one-time world champion.
Could be a McLaren driver in 4 years' time. McLaren get back up.
I doubt it.
How many times did he crash this season over qualifying, practice, and actual racing? Because I can remember 3 just off the top of my head.
He
already.
has retired from 3 races this year. I know that.
Plus the crash in the Monaco practice at the end.
He crashed in qualifying.
But in all fairness,
Bahrain, didn't
when he crashed in Bahrain, Ricciardo did as well. So either way, that was
Baku.
it was Bahrain.
He crashed in.
Oh yeah, they both crashed in Azerbaijan, but that wasn't Verstappen's fault.
No,
That was
Bahrain.
Ricciardo's
Bahrain, he
fault.
crashed in qualifying,
Yeah,
didn't he?
Bahrain he crashed, but then he went out the race early on, and so did
Anyway,
Ricciardo,
yeah,
didn't he?
yeah.
That was
They were
annoying.
issues though, weren't they?
They had a good car though. That's what was really annoying in that race.
It's just in my opinion. I think he needs to mature a lot more before he becomes, world champion. He's not going to become world champion playing racing like this.
Yeah, but he's not going to become world champion in that car at the minute. I don't
No.
think.
So why have they signed him to a 4-year deal?
Because
To
they don't
keep
want to
him,
lose.
to
They
keep-
don't want
to lose him.
There isn't anybody.
There's a bright future in him. I agree with what you mean by the crashes, but he'll learn from it. He'll definitely learn from it. He's very mature, actually, for his age. I'll say that. There's a lot of young drivers like Lance Stroll. Don't get me started on him. He just moans every time there's a problem. You're in a Williams.
I will swear.
You're in a Williams. Deal with it.
Yeah.
Robert Kubica would actually win a race in that car probably because he's that good. I'm not going to go over the top there, but
I
maybe-
think there's more chance of him than Lance Stroll winning.
Wouldn't it be funny if he got top 10 in his first race?
Yeah.
Bring on Montreal. Come on, Kubica.
Can you imagine if they got rid of him and brought Kubica in from Montreal?
Oh, well, he won there in 2008 in a BMW Sauber, so it could happen. I've actually got that cap at home.
Have you?
Brings me
BMW
good
Sauber?
memory. Yeah, great cap. Well, they had your favourite, the man with the best beard in F1.
What, Nick Heidfeld?
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Legend. Absolute legend. But overall, we got Montreal coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Who does that favour then? Have they tipped any cars for that one?
Mercedes will probably be all right on that
Mercedes.
one because it's a power circuit, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Mercedes have the best power unit, so they're definitely going to be there. Ferrari will probably be second, and Red Bull will be the third fastest there. But watch out for the Mercedes power of Force India. They could be good on that track. I mean, yeah, I know you're happy for that, but
Perez got podium there once. Just saying.
Perez didn't do very well this weekend, though, did he?
No. He got podium there once, Ocon didn't. That's all I'm saying. It's depressing saying podium. He doesn't win.
No.
He'll never win.
No.
But no, it's funny because when you look at Montreal as well, we have that good old wall of champions. Who's going to hit that this weekend? Verstappen.
Verstappen, yeah. We've just defended it, but I guarantee.
You can put odds on that Verstappen's going to hit that. He'll probably hit it, I don't know, some point in the race. I think he'll be more careful in practice and qualifying this time around. Just the sheer factor of what happened over the past 2 weeks.
He'll take on the corners very slow next time.
Yeah.
I reckon Stroll will hit it.
Yeah, Stroll's got to hit it. And his home Grand Prix as well.
Stroll will hit it at practice or something.
That would be
first lap.
First lap. I think, Vettel's got to hit it. No, Hamilton.
You know what?
Hamilton's
Hamilton's
Stroll
on
will
fire
hit
every
it.
time he
Yeah.
Stroll will hit it, and Verstappen will be like, "Well, I'm not being outdone here," and he goes bang straight to the back of him.
He only lost his front wing. What's this?
It's like I have no need to crash, but I'm doing it anyway.
There'll be the hashtags of Chris Verstappen on the Twitter.
Imagine if those two were on the same team. That would be absolutely dire. You'd be paying out like 30 million a week just to repair the cars.
I just know straight away Stroll would only be in the same team as Verstappen because of the money. It wouldn't be because of the talent. Anyway, before we go and have another music break, your driver of the day, was it Daniel Ricciardo?
It was Daniel Ricciardo. I mean, we both said on the podcast that there was opportunities for Pierre Gasly, Charles Leclerc,
Future Red Bull driver.
Yeah, Charles Leclerc before future Ferrari driver before his accident, but he couldn't do much about that. And Max Verstappen for obviously starting last and getting to 9th on the grid. He actually did overtakes, which hardly anybody else did in that race.
Yeah.
But you've got to give it to Daniel Ricciardo. I mean, he earned it from all the history he's had at Monaco and the fact that he managed, even though he was in first place, and it's not easy to overtake in Monaco, but the fact that he was able to carry on with the car that he had with 160 horsepower. It doesn't sound like a lot, but in an F1 car, that's he said it was over a second a lap each lap. So that's major. So to get it home was great for him, and like I said, it warranted people staying to watch the race because they wanted to see him win.
And people can can check out your F1 blog. What's the link?
Oh, jackpricef1.com.
I thought it was it's Jack Price.
It probably is.
50%.
Okay, you my manager, yeah?
Yeah.
50% of what?
Food.
Yeah.
Actually, that cup of water.
Okay.
Oh,
Well, there's not much in it, so.
I'll take half of that little
Okay.
bit left.
Okay.
Anyway, we're going to have a music break. Adam Davies and Joe Stanley, they love their F1. They were that speechless.
Yeah.
They just could not talk about it. We will have a music break. It's Scissor Sisters with Fire because it's getting rather warm in this studio. We'll be right back. Fire with Fire there by the Scissor Sisters. And if you're hearing all the laughs, we are watching the Karius goal again. Jack says it's not. I'm just trying to go down with the script, Why don't Conor, come on, what is it? What are you showing me?
It was just a Star
It's a
Wars
Star Wars
meme.
joke.
Star
Have a
Wars.
look, Jamie. We'll talk over it.
Muster near, muster far, muster wherever you are. Sorry, I'm gone. Live on the radio. Here we go. Anyway, we must talk about the playoffs because it was playoff weekend. It's just ended at Wembley for the last game for this year in League Two. And Coventry City are heading to League One after they beat Exeter City. I don't know how many goals by. I'll just
3-1.
check out. 3-1.
Wasn't it like the first time they've been promoted in like quite some time as well?
I think
'Cause they've constantly been relegated.
They've had problems.
It was like the highest finish in
1958, I think it was.
years.
Really?
No, they haven't not been promoted since then.
I was going
I
to say
think
they've been
this
in
is
the Premier League.
highest finish in a league since then, and it was their first time being promoted in like I don't know over 10 years.
It's
or
crazy, isn't it? Because back in the 90s, they used to be a Premier League team.
whatever. Yeah.
But where were they when we watched them play Crew? Because we went
League
there,
One.
didn't we?
League One, yeah. Crew absolutely kicked them that day.
That was a
didn't they?
great day, wasn't
A
it?
great day, yeah. That was it. Normally they lost Crew, but for some reason they just won that day. Great day. 3-1. 3-1. George Ray getting one of the goals. I can't remember the other goal scores.
No.
Anyway, Conor, you were at the main one, though. You were at the Championship playoff final where
Yep.
Villa, it didn't work out, but it was two former Premier League sides. Both teams have had a great season, but Villa just couldn't do it at the end, could they?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it came down to who's in the best form, and of course, Fulham. The first half of the season, they looked like they could potentially be battling against relegation, but they certainly got themselves into gear in the second half, and they went on a streak where I think they won over 16 games in a row, and were undefeated in like 23 games before they lost to Birmingham at the end of the season. And then, of course, they lost to Derby in the first leg, so we thought, this is the form. This form's carrying on from the Birmingham loss. They haven't got over that yet, but then they got themselves back into it back at Craven Cottage and won that game by 2-0. Got themselves into the final. Villa was a bit of a different story. They won, of course, away at Middlesbrough and then drew 0-0 at Villa Park, so they were in the final off that. But then, as I was commentating on the game itself, throughout the first 30 minutes plus, Villa were pretty much keeping to their game plan, which was sitting back and defending, let Fulham play their game, play the possession game, and then hit them on the counter-attack. But Fulham just completely dominated in the midfield, and that was where the game was won and lost, really, because straight away on the 23rd minute mark, Sessegnon, we know how great of a player that he can become and what
And he's
potential
very
that
young
he's been.
as well.
Very young as well, only 18 years old. Played a lovely through ball through to Tom Carey in the box, and he slotted into the bottom left-hand corner.
And it's a great opportunity for him to show his talent in the top flight of English football.
Yeah, certainly a good opportunity. It was certainly a worry that if Fulham did not earn promotion this season, that potentially he could get snapped up by a Premier League team and go to the Premier League that way. But I think now at least he's got a season at Fulham. We'll be able to see more what he's able to produce at a top level, because of course he was the first player outside the Championship nominated for the Young Player of the Year award this season, so he's got the potential to push on now and see what he's able to do. Because if you just cast your mind back to what Rashford was able to do when he made the scene on at United, he was only 19, I think he was. This is a guy that's already been scoring 17 goals in the Championship the season just gone, so he can definitely push on, and I reckon he can probably get at least 10 goals in the Premier League next season if he's played in that wing back position, because he can play at left back as well. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting season for Fulham. We'll have to see what the kind of movement they can make in the transfer window coming up, because of course they got that part of that 160 plus million coming through to them thanks to the revenue now in the Premier League. It'll be interesting to see how they spend for that, and also
money.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Villa respond to this as well, because they're out of parachute payments now. So they've got no more parachute payments from when they got relegated to the Premier League. So they desperately needed to win this game to get promotion back. So now it's going to be questions about Jack Grealish and John Terry, Albert Adomah, who's had a fantastic season for them. He's 30 now or something, but he can definitely pull it off in the Premier League if he's taken there.
Well, that was my question I was going to ask now, because, you know, for Steve Bruce, this guy is normally the expert on getting the team, any team, up to the Premier League. It didn't happen this time, but he'd be delighted with the progress no matter what, because a year or two ago they weren't even near the playoffs. So, do you think next season it could be it for them? Could they do it?
It's make or break really for Steve Bruce, despite the fact that he's been able to come into the club and turn it around from a side that only last season were struggling to keep themselves in the Championship. To one that's now looking to get promoted and through the playoffs and what. A bit unfortunate really in the final, but that was down to his own tactics. Sitting back for too long, and should have really responded to being a goal down before half-time even happened. He said in the press conference after the game that he gave the team a proper rollicking at half-time and said, you know, arguably they should have responded to the goal quicker than what they did. But it really comes down to which players they are able to retain and which players they're able to give new contracts to. Because, of course, Terry is, you know, out of contract. That second year was only optional. I don't think personally himself he'll pick it up. So it'll be a case of Villa putting a case forward for him to stay at the club. And then you've got Jack Grealish, who's only recently signed a new deal, but he's got the potential to play in the Premier League. So he should be at that level.
It's been a few years now.
James Chester as well could easily play at that level. They're not going to get Sam Johnston, I don't think, back. United will probably end up selling him on to another club. And it's going to be a struggle to keep Adomah at the club as well, because he's been fantastic for Villa this season in the Championship. So it is going to be a tough summer for Villa, because they're probably going to have to lose a couple of their key players. They've had a lot of players on loan as well. So it's definitely going to be a completely different side to what we've seen this season. So there's no real guarantee that they'll be in the playoff positions next season for certain.
But at the same time, they are a respective club. So if they are going to have to find players, they should.
They're a respected club, and certainly Villa Park's going to be still going to be a difficult place for teams to come and visit.
Especially for Forest.
Don't get me started on that. I watched that game myself. Lost 2-1. But yeah, it's certainly going to be a difficult next season for Villa, and you know, a team like them, you know, could easily fall into the trap as like teams like Forest, teams like Leeds in the past, Sheffield United, you know, several big teams that have been in the Premier League in the past, you know, are now struggling to get out of the Championship,
and because Stoke and all that are coming in as well.
Yeah, they simply don't have the funds to compete with the likes of Stoke and West Brom and Swansea that are coming down from the Premier League, that have those parachute payments so that they can compete hard in the window, you know, have like a £30 million budget in the window, whereas Villa now, I think they could struggle to get even like 15 or something like that. £15 million. Yeah, it's that situation really.
Lots of loan deals then.
Lots of loan deals again, and certainly a club like Villa would be able to, the prestige that the Villa has, would be able to bring in a couple of big signings in terms of, you know, those kind of players at Premier League mid-tier clubs that, you know, aren't getting first team football. You think like people like Snodgrass last season for West Ham wasn't getting that first team football, brought into Villa, and he was a complete game changer because he was like the top assist for the season. People like Josh Onoma, you know, a youngster at Tottenham, not really getting the game time there, but came on, it was an impact sub at Villa. So it's certainly one. Lewis Grabban, another one at Bournemouth, striker there, not really getting game time at Bournemouth, but came into Villa and he scored something like 8-9 goals in the second half of the season alone. So, you know, it's going to be a tough Villa. It's going to be a tough one for Villa next season.
Joe, while we're talking about the Championship, so we know who's staying in the Championship. We know who have gone up to the Championship and have come down to the Championship. Is there any teams there that you think people should watch out for next season? I know it's very early days. We don't know who the transfers are yet. We've only just had the club season finishing. But straight away, for the likes of like Stoke City, they've already announced their new manager. It's Gary Rowett. Now, this guy did really well at Birmingham City until for some reason he got sacked when they were actually in the playoff positions midway through the season a couple of years ago. What do you think ahead of the new season?
It's going to be difficult, isn't it? Because they see the Championship's the hardest league in New England. Because obviously it's hard to get out of, but it's hard to stay in as well. As obviously with Birmingham in that lot this season, because Birmingham were in the Premiership not that long ago.
And they only just stayed up this time.
It's hard to point out teams that might go up next season. I'll have to wait and see what business is done first. On the Villa thing, my uncle was a Villa fan, and he was saying the other day that there was strong talks of if Villa got promoted back to the Premiership, they were going to re-sign Christian Benteke. Because he wants to return
It kind
to
of
club,
makes
but
sense.
I couldn't see him dropping down to the Championship for the move.
Not if he gets a Premier League contract, anyway.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting because there's a lot of big teams in there. Stoke, West Brom. Like I said, there's Birmingham.
I sense Stoke are going to come straight back up. I don't know
Stoke will probably compete in the playoffs because Gary Warrett at Derby, he wasn't exactly a consistent manager. You know, they at the first half of the season, they were pretty much up there with Wolves at the top of the table. But then they slowly start to drop off. And then as soon as these Stoke rumours come in, Derby fans are like, what's going on here? You know, why is he getting the Stoke job? He's hardly done anything to prove himself at Derby because he's so inconsistent. And he's getting the Stoke job, obviously chasing the money in a sense because they're probably able to pay him more than what Derby are doing. So I definitely think that Stoke will definitely be in the playoff positions. I think Swansea will be the team that bounces back straight away and get themselves back into the Premier League because I think a lot of those players in that squad will probably stay. Alfie Mawson might be one that gets
called away.
I think the Ayus. I honestly think because of the way that Andre Ayew performed at West Ham,
I think they could
and because
stay.
of Jordan Ayew hasn't really done that much at Swansea, I think they could both stay.
I think they've been really poor last few years, actually.
Yeah.
So I think for them to think they should be back in the Premier League, I think this next season is stay there, prove yourself.
Yeah.
Middlesbrough's going to be an interesting team this season.
Tony Pulis, he nearly got them into the playoff final.
Yeah, because obviously they're in the playoffs this year. You said they nearly got them to the final. They lost 1-0 to Villa.
And he's a great manager, let's be honest.
Don't get me wrong, he can. It's boring football at times.
But it gets results.
It's like Mourinho, isn't it? Like United, you'll forgive me for saying this, won't you?
The problem,
it's boring football, but he gets your trophies normally. Apart from
I'm not
season.
disagreeing.
It's one of those, and I think Pulis will have them organised at the back, which you need. You need a good defence in the Championship. You also need a good attack. But ideally, the defence is the main priority in the Championship. Stop conceding goals, and let's try and score some. So I reckon he might purchase a striker or two in the summer for Middlesbrough. So the defence is already organised, sort out the attack, and they could go up.
Have they got a Sombalonga and Brentford away from Toulouse last season in the French league? So they got plenty of striking options up there. Britta Sombalonga, former Forest player, banged them in for Forest, and he certainly did it for.
Clearly, Forest was too good for him then.
Yeah, don't get me started. But I actually want to give myself and Forest a little bit of credit for potentially next season under Karanka because he did the job at Middlesbrough and got them promoted to the Premier League. So I think with a full summer transfer window, he could potentially bring the right players in and get this squad moving. Because over the past couple of years, the squad have had to break up because simply we weren't pushing themselves hard enough to get into the playoff positions. But as soon as he took over from Mark Warburton during the last season, he moved them away from the relegation zone, and we got him basically into the same position where Villa were when Steve Bruce originally took over. So hopefully now he's given the funds and able to push on. I'm just thinking about other teams potentially if Millwall are able to keep on pushing on from what they did from last season, where they nearly got themselves into the Championship playoffs. I think they could potentially do well as well. And Leeds as well. New owners, part owners, shall we say, with the San Francisco 49ers coming in. Money will definitely be pumped into that team. And they said as well during that news conference with the 49ers that the money that's being given to them by the American football team is solely being spent on improving the starting 11. It's not going anywhere else. And that's got to be at least a couple of million. So that is a huge potential for Leeds to. I think Leeds might be one of the favourites to get promoted next season, just for the sheer factor that they're getting.
Shame about their new badge.
Yeah, I mean that was the disaster that was.
I can't believe they're going to keep it.
No, they've reverted back to the old one. I think.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah,
there is a god.
That went downhill very quickly. So yeah, I think Leeds definitely could be one of the favourites to get promoted next season.
It's about time.
I think Swansea, I think Leeds, and I think potentially Stoke maybe. I struggle to see West Brom bouncing back because they've had the money problems already in the Premier League. So if you're going to counteract that with money problems in the Championship, then that's going to be even worse.
Hopefully, though, the manager that they've got now could be the start.
Yeah, Darren Moore. I went to a lot of West Brom games between when he was appointed as the caretaker manager at the end of the season. He's certainly done enough to to earn that role, and hopefully now he's shown the respect. Of course, he won Premier League Manager of the Month in April, got results against the likes of Jose Mourinho and Rafa Benitez, and Jurgen Klopp as well. And I certainly think that, if he's given the right budget, I'm not saying he should be given like millions and millions and millions, because I think he's actually probably a great man management kind of manager. He knows the best way to get out of West Brom players. We saw this at the back end of last season. So I think because of him being manager there, a lot of players might want to stay. People like Rondon, though, are going to easily get drawn away to other teams and things like that. But I think West Brom might struggle initially. They could potentially give a playoff push, but for me, I think Stoke are in a better situation in order to bounce back from it. But then again, it's a case of who's going to stay at Stoke. Shaqiri's probably not going to stay there. He's probably going to get moved away. Butland's going to get moved away. So a lot of these teams are going to have new players coming in and things like that. So it really could be, I imagine it's going to be Swansea and Leeds probably at the top, and then anyone really a fair chance of getting into the playoff positions after that.
I've heard Rondon's linked with West Ham.
Rondon's been linked with like AC Milan and all that kind of stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Actually, speaking of that, we must move on to the transfer rumours.
Oh, okay.
So I know, a bit random, but we've got about 5 minutes left here. But anyway, just thought we'd wrap up with transfer rumours. If you do miss this section, you'll go out onto our YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to Let's Talk Sport. Just give us a search. And should we start off with you, Joe? What transfer rumours have we got? They're not all Liverpool, are they?
No.
Oh, that's
right.
But
there's
then.
one big breaking news that come through about half an hour ago.
Yeah,
is it breaking?
Is it breaking?
Oh yeah, Fabinho deal agreed, £40 million.
It said close, didn't it?
Sky said close, but I did some reading, and other sources said it's
he
done.
plays for Monaco. He was the Brazilian defensive midfielder that was linked to City and United last season, but nothing happened.
Oh, so it's going to be a flop then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, but Liverpool.
Basically, if you look at Monaco's form in League One, it's not exactly great.
If
If
it's
it's
really
anything
bad.
like the hype that Bakayoko had, good luck with that.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Anyway, go on, Joe. You've got some.
Other Liverpool rumours, just to touch on quickly, and then I'll go on to the other clubs.
Yep,
since
yep.
we're on the Fabinho. Vicker has been linked with Liverpool, but he's been linked 200 times in the last 2 weeks. Goalkeeper Alisson and Oblak linked.
Is he going to go? Do you think this is it? Alisson's going to go to Liverpool.
Should do.
How much?
Around 60 million.
Okay.
Other rumours that I've read, Daily Mail saying that City to bid 75 million for Mahrez.
Mahrez. I mean, well, actually,
I don't think it'll be 75. He's not worth 75 million.
And he was linked back in January.
Over the past 2 seasons, he's not exactly been that kind of quality level. Leicester will push for it because obviously they finished in the top 10 this season and don't exactly need to.
I think they'll get it
get
though
him
because
rid.
Man City are a bit silly with their money, aren't they?
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be less than that. I think it might be like 60 million plus add-ons, maybe something like that. But I don't think it'll be 75. No way.
No.
No.
And he's cheaper than Bale.
Yeah.
Discussed it before. Bale to United for 200. We discussed this early on in the show. So
Yeah.
that was another rumour. Ronaldo unhappy at Madrid, but it was more to do with his wages because
Yeah.
Neymar's on 600,000 a week, Messi's on 750,000.
Whoa, you're going so fast here, Joe. Come on, what's this whole thing about Ronaldo?
He's apparently unhappy with his wages at Madrid because he's found out Neymar's on 600,000 at PSG. Messi's reportedly on 750,000 at Barcelona, and he's apparently in, is it 350,000 or something?
Oh no.
Is that all? Actually, I know that's a
know.
lot of money, but I'm actually quite surprised he's on that. I thought Bale was on 350 grand.
And then one for Arsenal fans was Emil Forsberg to Arsenal, which is from Expressen, which is a Swedish paper, which is obviously his homeland.
As always, Arsenal will go for players that never work out.
And it said 50 million, but I'm not really a thing for that, but it's just one to sprinkle in for Arsenal
Okay.
fans.
Anyway, it is believed that Manchester City are ready to compete for Calon Mbappe. Now, of course, he was expected to go to Madrid last summer. That never happened. But, I mean, Jack, do you ever think Mbappe, don't get me wrong, he's looking to be a promising young player for France and for PSG at the moment, but City don't need him, do they?
City don't really need anyone really.
No.
Was he Mbappe on loan though?
Yeah, he was
isn't he going back?
He was on loan at PSG with a buy option at the end of the season. But the reason why they think that PSG might not take it is because of financial fair play.
Who was he?
But
I thought it was an
easy solution to that is to sell Neymar. So, I don't buy into that. City will go for him. Plus, they've got Gabriel Jesus, so they don't need a young striker. They've already put a new contract to get towards him to stay at the football club. They've got Sergio Aguero as well. He's probably not going to leave until the end of his contract, which I think is next season. And by that time, Kylian Mbappe is bound to have another long-term deal at another club. So, no, that's not going to happen.
And of course, he is in the France team, isn't he?
Yeah, French national team.
I thought with the Mbappe thing, I remember reading a couple of weeks ago that it was an obligation to buy if they didn't get relegated. So maybe
Who, Monaco?
no,
Or
PSG.
PSG?
PSG had an obligation to buy him from Monaco for £166 million should they not get relegated.
Well,
And they won the title.
No,
so-
Monaco should get relegated or PSG.
PSG, but I think
Well, that's
E-
a
e-
bit of
e-
a
e-
bit of a strange deal.
He's
Yeah.
a great deal, which you know already.
Either one's strange, so yeah. No.
Final one, just to hit on Jack here, but apparently N'Golo Kante has been linked to PSG, but says that while he loves living in London, his heart will always remain in Paris. Should he go, Jack?
Well, okay. My heart lies in Chirk, but I'll still leave if I have to. That makes no sense. So I mean, it would seriously.
We do apologise to the people of Chirk. We hope we haven't insulted you.
Yeah, sorry about that. But no, look, if Hazard is just as Kante is bigger probably than Hazard at this moment in time at Chelsea. So there would have to be serious money from PSG to buy N'Golo Kante.
How much do you reckon he's worth?
100 million.
100 million.
Yeah.
I was
It might
thinking
be more than
70 or something like that, but
The problem with Chelsea at the moment, I think, in terms of holding on to the players, and I think you might agree with this, if they don't finish in league spots this season, then I think potentially you're going to see at least 3 or 4 of your big names leave in order to
Yeah,
try
but
and
if we
chase
don't get
that
into the Champions
football.
League spot, they sort of need to go, don't
Exactly.
they? Because they're not that big
Yeah.
if we can't get in the
So
Champions League.
whilst Kante's being linked to this summer, I think it's going to be an ongoing situation where a lot of Chelsea players will start getting linked elsewhere, especially if Chelsea's form doesn't pick up at the start of next season to show that they're going to be putting forward a case to get into the Champions
The
League.
issue is that you've got big players like Fabregas who are only going to be on a rolling contract now because he's hit 30.
Yeah.
Chelsea only offer you a 1-year deal if you go
Yeah.
over 30. So the issue
they did that with Drogba, I remember.
they go do with everybody. That's why
Yeah.
Frank Lampard left and all that sort of thing. So that's the issue you get.
Before we go, because we mentioned this last week on last week's show, Willian, obviously we're assuming he's not getting on with Conte because of his trophy emojis covering up in the team photo at the FA Cup final. I mean, that would be quite sad for him to go, wouldn't it? Because
It's
he's
a bit bitter, isn't it? Because Chelsea fans have loved him since he came in. And obviously,
he's been great.
The fact that he
Mourinho signing.
decided not to go to Tottenham and move to Chelsea. That's always a bonus for Chelsea fans, isn't it? But yeah, he has been good. He was Player of the Year when the rest of the players were terrible a couple of seasons ago.
Led that team.
Yeah, I did see he was eye rolling when I watched him doing the warm up in the FA Cup final. Zappa Costa was told to come on, and then he got told, actually, we don't want you anymore. And he came back to warm up, and Willian was looking at him going, what's going on? And he said, he doesn't want me anymore. And you could see Willian going, like that. So you could see there's been some sort of friction there, but you still don't know whether Conte's going or not.
Yeah. A quick question: Who would you rather see? Who would you rather stay at the football club, Willian or Conte?
Conte.
Fair enough. Do you think Willian could go to United then? Because that's been one of the rumours.
Well, we sell all our players to
Say,
you at the minute, don't we?
The only good player we've ever had off you is Matic. Love Matic. Great player. Anyway, that is all we have time for here on the Let's Talk Sports Show. Thank you very much for listening at home, and thank you for all watching on YouTube. Remember to subscribe to Let's Talk Sport for more of our shows, for more of our F1, for more of everything. You name it. We really do have it all here at Let's Talk Sport. My thanks to Joe, Conor, Jack, and Adam Davies, who had to catch a train home because public transport is never good for you. Anyway, we're gonna be back next week, same time, same place. Enjoy your week.